So welcome to the 2019 edition of the Dubai event VriThink's Night Out. To have the great minds switched in the on mode.
You really just need a spirit of adventure.
They just keep doing the same thing, but they do it so well that we love it. We want to be a part of it, we want to have it because we know we can trust it.
The passion for discovery, the passion for explorer.
The speakers that you're going to hear tonight all have that great spirit of adventure. Well, I haven't done it all because I've never been to Dubai before until tonight. Now, I hate the word explorer yacht because I really feel that any vessel can be an explorer boat. For millennia, man has been cruising the oceans in nothing more than open canoes. Now, of course, it's much easier if you're in a modern exploration yacht, such as the one that's behind me right here with the helicopters and the submarines, but it's not necessary. You really just need a spirit of adventure. Now, when I first met Anil Thadani, who's the owner of Latitude in 2013, before we bought the boat, I asked him a question I ask of all the owners that I've worked for. I said, why are you buying this boat? And he gave me the best answer that I ever got. He said, I want to go on adventures and photograph wildlife. And I said, okay, I'm in. So now we needed a boat. And with that in mind, we looked at some explorer yachts, but Anil had Latitude in mind. And it wasn't a traditional exploration boat. It's a great boat. It's a VriPack design. But it didn't have the helicopters, didn't have the submarines. It's steel-hulled, and it's not ice-classed. But we really pushed it to its limits. Now, once we picked out the boat, I had to pick the right crew. And I got a real bunch of cowboys. That's an actual picture of the original crew. They were young, naive, and stupid enough to believe that we could do anything on board that boat. At least that's what I told them. And we really made a point of doing that. Now, when we got the boat in Fort Lauderdale, I put this big map from IKEA on the wall, and I asked Anil, I said, where do you want to go? And he said, Alaska. And I said, well, we can go through the Panama Canal. I said, or we can go up over the top through the Northwest Passage. And he looked at the map, and he looked at me, and he said, oh, we have to do that. And that's how fast the decision was made. Now, at that time, I had 6 weeks to put together the itinerary, to get the boat prepared, and to figure out exactly how we were going to do this. And the passage had only been traversed in 1906 by Adamson for the very first time. And since then, there had only been about 200 boats that had gone through successfully. So in 2014, we set off from Cape Cod to go east to west through the Northwest Passage. And this was some of the first ice that we encountered. Now, the boat's not ice-classed, but I found out that I could move ice about this size. If I was going about 2 knots, I'd get up next to a piece of ice, I'd push it off to one side, and it was very slow going. But we were able to make it through. 126 days from Cape Cod to Vancouver through some of the thickest ice the Northwest Passage had seen in decades. And only one other boat made it through that year. Now, what do you do after you do the Northwest Passage? I mean, that trip was epic. So I had a crazy idea. I said, let's do it west to east. And as you can see, my crew was in a little bit of a disbelief going, are you kidding me? That almost killed us the first time. I said, no. It'll be better this time because we're better prepared. We've been through the ice. We know what we're getting into. So we did it. And it wasn't as scary as the first time that we had gone through. We were able to go west to east. I won't get into why that's harder. But anyway, we did it. We used all the toys that were on board in a lot of non-traditional ways, such as going wakeboarding through ice fields. As you can see us, we're wakeboarding and jet skiing. The jet skis it wasn't that bad. The jet skis were great up in the ice. We also towed a 35-foot tender, which we did a lot of exploring with as well. And it was an epic journey. And we were able to have those adventures and photograph wildlife. As you can see, polar bears, the walruses, and the foxes were all in great shape. The emaciated polar bears that you've seen earlier on those famous pictures, the bears in Canada have bounced back, and all the animals that we did see were fat and healthy. And that was a really positive thing. We also saw whales, The wildlife up there is spectacular. This is one of the last pictures I took on the last day of leaving the Northwest Passage. So we had done the Northwest Passage twice. What do you do after that? Well, in the spirit of adventure, we decided that we're going to try to get as close to the North Pole as possible. And the best place to do that from is Svalbard, which is an archipelago north of Norway. It's a fascinating place. Not a lot of boats have circumnavigated it. Matter of fact, we're the first private yacht to circumnavigate it. Now, once we get up to the top of Svalbard, in order to punch to the North Pole, I had to figure out a way how to go faster than the 2 knots that we had gone prior. And you only get a couple of shots to get up that high, and that's when the wind blows out of the north, the polar ice cap opens up. And when that happens, you gotta go. So what I would do in order to go between 4 and 6 knots is I'd find an ice floe, roughly the width of the boat, wedge it between the bow and the bulbous bow, and use that as my icebreaker. And that allowed me to go that 4 knots in order to get up past 81 degrees. And it actually worked fairly well. Now, once we got up to 81 degrees, we had to get back. And that was really when that method came really into good use, because the wind did start to go south. And there was a couple of times when that ice pack started closing in that things got a little nervous. And unlike Canada, where they monitored you every 24 hours, up in the North Pole you were on your own. But as you can see, we made it. All great adventures end successfully if you make it home. We did the Northwest Passage twice. We were the 9th boat in history to do that. We're the only private yacht ever to circumnavigate Svalbard and make it past 81 degrees. All that goes to shows that any boat can be an expedition vessel. And the speakers that you're going to hear tonight all have that great spirit of adventure. They're all innovators. Part of the reason I've enjoyed working with VriThink's is that they do think differently, and that no idea is a crazy idea. Thank you very much.